Welcome to our podcast, Parenting by the Pint. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, Minivan Mafia. Lauren and I are longtime friends from Chicagoland that love getting together to chat about life, kids, family, and beer.
Each week, we'll feature a brewery and sample at least 2 of their beers.
We'll also discuss a variety of topics ranging from parenting, pop culture, travel, marriage, and just about anything else that comes to mind. Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another fun-filled episode. How you doing, Lauren?
I'm good.
Good.
Things are going all right. I'm doing okay.
I know, it's kind of like okay.
Right? Yeah, I feel like, but sometimes you feel like there's the calm before the storm and you're just kind of waiting.
Yeah, I don't like that feeling.
I'm hoping that this good continues. So we're gonna go with that.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's cool. Let's just enjoy the moment.
I like it.
Right?
Yes.
So we are gonna take a little trip across the ocean, which we haven't done in a while.
True.
We've stayed pretty local.
Yeah.
And you proposed doing some imports, and I was kind of like, oh, right.
Yeah, there are beers everywhere.
Beers from other countries. Yes, that's just such an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So let's totally do it. So I saw this bottle in my fridge, and I was inspired to suggest the brewery that we are going to drink tonight. And it also inspired me because I have a funny story about this brewery. So we are going to drink 2 beers from Rodenbach, which is a super, super old brewery. And Lauren's going to give you all the fun facts, so I'm not going to spoil any of that. Yeah. But I will say that years ago, my husband and I bought this book, and it was called 1,001 Beers to Try Before You Die.
Oh, that sounds intriguing.
Yes, it is. There's a lot of international stuff on there, which is, it's probably, especially now that it's several years old, and perhaps a new edition has come out, but like, it's probably got a lot of stuff that from a historical perspective, outside of the U.S., would be like totally worth drinking.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
We decided one time to try Rodenbach beers. And so we drank their like classic Belgian sour ale and then their specialty brew, which is called Grand Cru. And the process, I don't know if you talk about the process of the making of these 2 specific beers, but from what I recall, the process of making Grand Cru is a longer aging period, and they also like mix like old Grand Cru and regular.
They do that with all other Rodenbach beers, really. Yeah. It's
so
like a mix of old and new.
Yeah. So like as a result, we were like, well, let's try both. It should be fun. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we get them out. And we try the regular, and my husband's exact words were, "This tastes like feet."
Oh, no.
I think he said feet. And then when we tried Grand Cru, he said that it tasted like a boot.
Okay.
So I love that I was able to tell you that before we tried them.
Yes.
I would like to say that was many years ago.
Okay.
Before he worked for Binny's and before we were really that into beer. This was sort of our like inspiration for kind of bridging out and trying new things.
Well, that's good.
Was this book.
I feel like I need to look for a new edition of this book.
Yeah. I think that would be an awesome idea.
Yeah.
1,001 beers to try before you die.
Okay.
I will say that Utopias is in there.
Oh, okay.
And because I wasn't super knowledgeable, I went to the liquor store and asked about the beer. Randomly, I was like, do you guys ever have this beer? It's called Utopias. Yeah. And the guy just laughed at me.
You?
And I often repeat that story to my husband because it was at a Binny's. And I said that I feel like on occasion you get a little bit of that like superiority from people who work in the liquor store.
Yeah.
And at this point, I feel like Ron Swanson when he's in the hardware store.
Oh,
which, if
for sure.
you've seen Parks and Recreation, you understand that Ron Swanson's character is like a master woodworker. And so when he goes to the hardware store, he doesn't need help.
No.
But people will come up to him and offer to help, and he will say, I know more than you.
Yeah, which is accurate. And often I do feel like that. I feel like that less with beers lately because I don't necessarily keep up with all of the new things that are coming out, but I know a lot of local breweries. But I definitely feel like that with bourbon now because someone randomly will come up to me and be like, oh, are you looking for something? And they'll suggest something that I'm like,
And you're just
oh,
like,
no.
stop it.
Oh, no. Just
That was like
stop right
4
there.
years ago.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
I am well past that on my
Okay.
bourbon journey. And then, not me.
Yes. But
Not
also
for
now
bourbon,
we
no.
know what utopia is. So I actually, my cousin had it years ago
Okay.
before I knew what it was, before I knew like anything. And he like brought it out at Christmas Eve one year. And I had no clue how like, rare it was.
Sure.
And now I would have had a much different opinion.
Right. Your reaction to
than
it would
I
be totally different.
had back then when I was like, oh, cool. And that was
It's
it.
like, all right, this is doesn't taste like beer.
Yeah. So, I mean, cool. That's great. But anyways, so feet and boots. Okay.
Something like that.
All
so
right.
let's see what regular. This is
Let's
classic
open regular and
Rodenbach.
hope it doesn't
Classic.
actually taste like feet. So,
Yeah, that's not. I'm hoping that too. That's not what we're going for here.
No, I have never had Grand Cru. I've had regular, but it's been a bit. And I don't recall it tasting like feet, but
I believe I have had it once since that tasting.
Okay.
Many years ago. So my son just turned 8. My husband left his previous job a few months after my son was born.
Okay.
So that's just to give you an idea. It's been longer than that
Oh, okay.
that I've had this
All right,
beer.
so it's been quite a while.
Let's say 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a decade.
Because I was pregnant with somebody before that, so I probably wasn't drinking. And then was not pregnant for a period, which is probably when I got the book. Because I was trying to live my best life in between pregnancies.
In between. Yeah, these two, so what we're drinking tonight is essentially what they're known for. So they're known for their barrel-aged sours, which is exactly what their classic is. And then their Flemish reds, which is what Grand Cru is.
Right.
So those are the two major ones. All right.
Smells like a sour, an aged sour.
It very much smells like a sour, and it like bubbled. Like the carbonation when it poured was like I could hear it. I can still hear it.
I know. It was like pouring like a tonic or something really carbonated.
Yeah. It smells more tart than it tastes.
I was going to say, I get a stronger aroma than I do from the taste. And I know you and I both always talk about aroma a lot.
Yes.
But this definitely has a very tart smell.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
very much more mild taste.
I would have I expected more of a kind of
Funky?
kick to my taste buds than I got based purely off the aroma, but it doesn't taste like feet, if anybody cares to know that. It doesn't taste like feet.
No, it doesn't taste at all like feet. I mean, I guess I don't know what
I actually don't know what feet taste like, just
like.
to preface that.
Full
But
disclosure, I'm not a foot person.
No, me neither at all. Actually, I really don't like feet.
I don't like feet, and I don't like people touching my feet.
Oh.
I'm
I'm not a fan of
pedicures or whatever.
Pedicures I'm fine with, but
can't
like
do that. I would kick someone in the face. I don't know what it is. I know this is not the topic.
no, not even kind of, but that's okay.
But I think we should discuss feet. It's very important.
All right, and we'll I'm gonna I'll note this for future episodes.
We're gonna table that. Future episode is gonna be body parts.
All right.
Yeah,
we'll figure
I don't
it
know
out.
how we're gonna do
All right.
that.
Anyways, I'm gonna keep drinking, and
Tell me
I
about
actually like this
Rodenbach.
though. This is pretty
It's pretty
tasty
good,
to me.
right?
I like sours. This isn't overly sour. Like if you drink a true sour, like it has a much
and it's
stronger.
very funky.
Yes.
Like a true sour
Oh yeah.
is
yeah.
very funky, and I think maybe we'll get a little bit more of that with Grand Cru.
Yeah. This is pretty tasty. I like it.
Yeah.
Not
Sorry,
feet.
Mike.
Yeah. No.
I like it, but I guess that's what 10 years of beer drinking
Your taste
will
buds
do
change,
for
every
you.
7, they say? So clearly you're within that realm.
I have a question for you, and this
Okay.
is completely unprompted, so I respect the fact if you don't have an answer.
Sure.
We had a conversation, my husband and I, when we were going to be drinking Rodenbach. And I said, what is a beer that smelled completely different than it tasted in like a good or a bad way? Like, or more notably, maybe a bad way, where it smelled maybe really good and tasted bad, or smelled really bad and tasted good, or...
I don't know. I'd have to think on that.
I can tell you. I'm not going to say the name of the brewery because I'm with somebody we have not featured.
Okay,
but
okay.
is somebody very, very popular, and sometimes they say they're from the Chicagoland area, even though they're not.
Okay,
and I
okay.
think that's probably going to narrow
Yep.
it down for you. And they have a saison, and my husband and I poured it out of the bottle, and I smelled it, and it smelled horrible. It was. If you want to talk about what feet must
Feet
smell
would
like.
smell like,
Let's
it'd be
say
that.
like your shoes after you ran through the rain and then they dried. The smell that comes out of them. That
Okay.
is what this beer smelled like. But it didn't taste
like good.
bad.
Good.
But the smell was so off-putting that I couldn't enjoy the drink.
That's not the
It was
aroma's
super gross.
it's a big
Yeah.
it's a big factor to me, but okay, all right. So
Okay,
this
moving on.
does smell more tart, but not overly different, and it does taste rather good. So Rodenbach, yeah, so they've been around forever. They're from Belgium. 1821 they were established, which it says clearly on the can. And so it was started by 4 brothers. They invested in a small brewery back in 1821. They ran it together for 15 years, and then one of the brothers and his wife, Pedro and Regina, took it over. They bought their family out, and they ran it. She was actually a brewer's daughter,
Okay.
and she wound up running the brewery for years while Pedro went out to fight in Napoleon's army. And Regina stayed back and ran the brewery. So that's how old this is.
That's insane.
Right?
I'm sorry. And we're
So-
drinking something where
Yeah.
the brewers had to leave the brewery to fight in Napoleon's army.
Yeah, crazy.
We haven't had to say that one yet.
Nope, that's new. This is not the home brewers.
No,
this is
that's
not
not
the
our
normal
story tonight, friends.
So yeah, so they ran it. Their son actually later took it over in the 1860s, and then their grandson took it over after that. So it was passed down
Wow.
to the family for quite a while. That grandson didn't have any male heirs, so they still kept it in the family, but they created an LLC literally back in like the early 1900s, like long ago. And they divided the shares amongst family members, and it was actually family owned until it sold to Palm Brewery in 1998.
Holy cow.
So 1821 to 1998, like crazy, right?
Pretty good run.
Yeah. So Palm was then sold in 2016. They're currently owned by the Swinkels family brewers, which is from the Netherlands. They're the second largest brewing company in the Netherlands after Heineken. But their revenue is $900 million a year. So they're a
Wow.
large company. They don't make any domestic here, but they own a number of different beers internationally. So
Okay.
So long running brewery, continuous, didn't have any breaks. They've been brewing since 1821.
Nice.
And like I said earlier, they're known for their barrel-aged sours and their Flemish reds. I have never been there, but if you were to go to Belgium, their brew hall, their storage chambers, they have an old tower used for drying malt. They're all protected heritage sites.
Nice.
So, and they also have what's is famous, the foeder rooms, which has 294 vertical foeders, some of which are over 150 years old,
Awesome.
which are also
Oh,
protected. So a foeder is essentially just a giant barrel. They're 3 times or larger the size of an average barrel, and that's what they ferment. That's what they age in. Are these
Okay.
oak foeders? So
I just learned something new.
yeah, so essentially the Rodenbach gets its characteristic. They say it's a fruity aroma, which I don't know what kind of fruit they're talking about, but from maturing in those oak foeders for a long time. And the cooper that's there, I don't know who it is now, but they craft the barrels in the same way as they did back in the 1800s. So there's no nails, there's no screws. It's only held together by hoops, even though they're giant.
Wow.
So they're, labor of love, I would imagine. And Rodenbach, their beers are actually a blend of a younger beer and then an older, mature, completely fermented beer.
Okay.
So
that's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah, earlier. Yeah.
But
So that's exactly what happens. That's how they blend their beers.
That's interesting. That's like how they make vinegar, where they put the mother in and it switches
exactly.
over to the next one as you
honestly,
go.
and that's probably because they've been using the same methods for hundreds, literally, of years now. So, super interesting. Fun fact: the Rodenbach family's been part of the Belgium, just everything for a long time. One of the family members, Constantine Rodenbach, actually wrote the national anthem of Belgium. So
American brewers beat that.
So
I bet you none of you guys wrote the national anthem.
Definitely not. So so lots of history, lots of interesting stuff. I mean, you can visit if you ever go to Belgium. You can visit lots of the parts of the brewery and whatnot. I'm sure it would be very interesting to see some of the 150 plus year old.
That is so cool. I went to Belgium once on a trip with one of our old roommates from college, Allison.
Yeah.
And we were there for like 2 or 3 nights. We were in Brussels. And I did a pathetic job of going out and finding what is quite possibly some of the best beer in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
A pathetic job.
Oh, I'm sad.
I'm really sorry. I was over the age of 21.
Oh, wow.
Probably drank Stella the whole time I was there. I know.
So many other opportunities.
But it's not good. And the World Cup was going on, and we watched a lot of soccer, which that was actually really fun.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, I'm sorry.
I
feel really bad about it. There are experiences that I had earlier in life that I wish had gone a lot differently.
That now you look back and you're like, I should have appreciated these things far more.
I mean, how far was I from Cantillon, you guys? Like, not.
Yeah, right?
And
you didn't even know.
Go there. I probably wouldn't have appreciated it. It's kind of like this beer. Like Cantillon, the beer that they're making is not universally as appreciated, I think. I mean, among beer lovers, definitely.
Sure,
but,
but not among just
like
the
the
general
guy
population.
who's like ordering a Bud Light in the bar is going to
no.
hate this beer that we're drinking right now.
I actually really like this beer.
Yes.
At least if you're drinking
I do.
Stella, it's still from Belgium, and they were established in 1366, so they're even older than this.
Well,
so.
at least that, I will say, that's
So
cool.
you've
I don't
got
know if
that.
I've had Stella since then.
I haven't had it in a long time.
My dad always has it in his fridge, though.
Okay.
He did mention being on the podcast at one point and getting together with him and drinking, finger quotes, regular beer. So I'm pretty sure we would drink Stella.
Okay, that works. So, all right. So that's Rodenbach in a nutshell.
That's
as
a great
we
story.
Continue drinking our Belgium sour ale.
Yes. So let's move on and let's talk about our little discussion topic for the day. And, it kind of triggered me to think of it when you mentioned that this guy goes off and fights in a war. And that was like his extracurricular activity,
That
if you
technically
will.
was. Yeah, you're right.
Whereas we're going to talk about like normal stuff, like playing sports.
Yes.
Or being in the school play or something.
Well, yes, music, any other things.
And here we are
Extracurriculars.
doing that. So yeah, I, as always, kind of started out to think about, what extracurricular activities did I do growing up, and maybe more so in high school, because I think those are more memorable and you're a little more committed to things at that age.
That's true.
When I was younger, we were in Girl Scouts. You were in Girl Scouts with me. I have pictures of us together doing Girl Scout stuff.
Many moons ago.
Yes. And, what else did I do? I did band for a really long time. I will say that as I got older and did band and had music as a class, that one of the things I loved about it was that I had a little group of friends from that activity as an extracurricular and from like a class during the day.
True.
That I spent a lot of time with.
Yeah.
You know, inside and outside of school, because we did competitions and things like that. And it was for me, it was a nice activity to kind of get some common ground with people and connect with people. That wasn't an athletic activity.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, again, we were in Girl Scouts together. We played softball.
Right.
I actually ice skated for a number of years, but I had to choose between ice skating and piano lessons because they were at the same time. And I wound up doing piano lessons, which I wish I would have stuck with for longer in my lifetime.
Totally random side note.
Yes.
I was looking at the pictures from the houses that you sent, and one of them has a piano.
I know, I saw.
And I was like, I'm going to make Lauren play that piano. She's playing that piano while we're there.
I haven't played.
So you
I haven't played in a
figure-
long
you
time.
should-
All right,
you
I'll have
should
to
figure
practice
something out.
All right, but yeah, so I did that, and I actually really enjoyed the piano. But I feel like since I wasn't doing it in school, I was doing it completely outside. I wasn't in band. I wasn't in any of it. That it just kind of fell by the wayside because a lot of other school activities or things is what I wound up doing more of. And that was something that was separate, and it was individual too.
Yeah.
So like you don't do anything with other people if you're playing the piano. Even ice skating too was more individual. So I felt like I did a lot of things that weren't necessarily group activities. Softball was like fun. It was that I didn't love the sport, but I loved the camaraderie, and it was like an activity, and you would all hang out at the fields, and like you would watch other people play, and it was just more of like a group that was a social thing.
I was going to say, I think that like
yeah.
softball and baseball, for example, are a little bit more of a social sport because you have downtime. Whereas when you're playing a game like soccer or basketball, you don't have a lot of downtime unless you're sitting on the bench.
Sure, yeah.
Otherwise, if you're playing the game, you're
constantly moving,
non-stop.
more so than baseball, yeah. And I swam for a little bit too, but there's no there's you're individual in that as well. Even if you're in a medley, you don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
So looking back, I didn't do a ton of things that were really in group. I was in like mathletes and stuff like that, which was again it was a team. But, like, those intellectual things, you're more so not that social because you're constantly, like, just making sure you're, like, ready to answer questions. So, I feel like I was kind of lacking in, like, the high school age for social activities like that.
Sure.
Not that I mean, it is what it is. I don't want to go back to high school and relive that
Lord,
anyways.
no.
But it was definitely interesting. You know, a lot of people make friends from the extracurricular activities
I feel that way about
in,
band.
and that was something that I really didn't. In elementary school, yes, but not once I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong extracurriculars. I
I don't know. I felt that way about band, but I did other team sports in high school. I played basketball and I played softball. Well, we both played on the freshman team, which was a complete waste of our time. I think we can both agree on that.
100%.
I don't know if it was that I just wasn't that good and that's why I didn't enjoy it, or if it was just not well organized.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
It was probably both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. But
I would never say I was good at softball. I was a fast runner. So I was a good base runner, and I had pretty good, like, as a lefty, was a good, decent hitter.
Yep.
That's it.
That's all.
I mean, like, you know, I pretended like I could play first base, but I wasn't very good at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah,
anyway, I
moving
did
on.
do some team sports in high school, and on the whole, I didn't really enjoy them very much. I think because sports are so competitive, not just against the other team.
No.
You're competing against your teammates for position.
Yeah, once you're in high school, it kind of, if you're really playing to play, a lot of people at that age are playing because they think they're going to be good enough to continue on or to get a scholarship.
To benefit from it in a college experience.
So it's no longer as much fun as it is for a purpose. And that piece to me, we were never going to get a scholarship for a sport.
Oh my goodness.
So I
can't even think of like what would have been the most likely thing for me to get a scholarship for.
But so it was more like the fun came out of it.
Yeah.
Because it was no longer that social actual like enjoyment. It was more, and like parents were the worst. Like everybody was just like, it was just not fun anymore.
No.
It took the fun out of it.
It wasn't.
So,
It was not. I didn't feel that way about track. I ran track a couple of years in high school, and I actually really enjoyed it. And it wasn't like ultra competitive against your teammates because our track team was kind of like average in the scheme of like our conference.
Everybody in the conference, yeah.
And so there weren't tryouts. You just made the team.
Okay.
And you were gonna do a couple of events, and so was everybody. Okay. And they were just gonna, if there were people that were superstars that were really good at particular things, obviously they were gonna run in those events, but they weren't limited. Like if a girl who's really good on the team ran the 400-meter dash, they would enter a second person to run the 400-meter dash,
not?
and maybe that second person is me.
Yeah.
So I'm still running the same number of events as the superstar.
Right.
I'm just the second person in the event, and it doesn't mean anything different to me.
No, you're just still doing it.
I might not get first place because
Right.
I'm running against a superstar.
Yeah, but you also didn't expect to get first place,
But
so
it's
you're
okay.
still competing.
And I enjoyed the practices, and I enjoyed track and things like that. And so, and I enjoyed my teammates. Everybody was
good.
cool. So that one was a little different from the team sport perspective, which is nice. The lesson that I learned from especially sports, but from extracurriculars, is don't do something that doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of time commitment.
Yes.
I mean, I played basketball freshman year, and there was practice every day till 6 o'clock, and on the weekends from like 8 to noon.
Yeah, we went in.
And over winter break every day.
When I was on the swim team, we went in before school to weight train. So it was before and after. I mean, really, that was your life. And that's what happens with high school sports is they assume that the people doing them are doing it for a reason. So they are conditioning you, and that's your life. Like, you don't have any time after school to enjoy it. You're going to practice, you're going home, you're doing homework, and that's your night.
Yep.
And that's it. So if you really don't enjoy that thing that you're doing at that age, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. And like, I'm not going to push my kids to do something that they don't like just because they're just to do something. Like,
exactly.
So I would agree with that lesson for sure.
I also feel like, especially as a high school student, you mentioned the like college scholarship thing. I think in high school, one thing that I wish I would have focused a little more on is enjoying my free time. And taking advantage of the opportunity to have free time. Yeah. And not necessarily, not doing any activities.
No, you want to keep busy. But, like, you think about it, if you're that busy with sports in high school and then you go to college and you're busy too, like, especially if you're really in a program that requires a lot of effort.
Yeah. I just feel like your high school years are the years where you kind of learn how to connect with your friends and make effort to stay friends with people. So, like, our children are still young enough that maintaining friendships is pretty straightforward for them. Yeah. They just sort of like be friendly.
Right. Yeah. They're in the same place at the same time, and they're nice. Like, it doesn't.
As long as you're nice to each other, you're kind of basically friends. Yeah. You know. And when you get to high school, you're tested about friendship. Whether it's how you handle emotional situations, which I am terrible at, or still I try. I'm 40 now, so I'm better than I was in high school, but not a lot better, not like measurably better,
marginally. Okay,
just a tiny bit. I'm not the person to go to in a crisis. I'm calm. I'm just not going to make you feel better.
All right,
that's how it goes.
Hey, at least you know.
But I think that high school is your opportunity to develop some of those social skills. And if you are nonstop busy all the time, almost no matter what that activity is, if it's an academic activity or a sport activity or even something like band or choir or dance team or whatever it might be, you might kind of lack in that way because you didn't really get challenged socially. Yeah. So I think there's a balance there. Yeah. I think there's a balance. And I try to, I think about like my brother's kids, for example, who seem pretty busy, but as they have gotten older, have kind of like cut out some activities. And I feel like it was a good strategy because they had like 3 or 4 things that they did pretty regularly. And now that my niece is a high schooler.
Yeah.
She really just kind of has one or two, and it's athletic activities, and they don't overlap really, but that's it. And then she does her academics, and she, has
she
a
still has
circle
time
of
to
friends.
be social. Yeah.
Yes.
I definitely, I would agree. I have some friends that have children that are constantly in an activity.
Yeah.
Constantly. And those kids aren't really learning to manage their own time because literally someone is constantly managing it for them. You have this day, this day, this day, this day. You don't have free time.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think, how should I spend my time?
Yeah.
What should I do with my Tuesday night? Like, what should I... Because you always have something scheduled.
Right.
So you don't have to learn how to make other decisions or how to, fill up your time in a good, productive way because you constantly have something you're told that you're doing.
Right.
So it's definitely... And we're not like that with our kids. Like, they're in a couple of things, but it's definitely not every day, and I don't think it ever will be. I mean, my kids are, they're in stuff, but I don't think they're going to be superstars at necessarily anything. I don't know. They're not super like they're, when the kids are our kids' age, at that point, you kind of already know who the superstars are,
Yeah, right.
Like, I had a conversation with a mom not too long ago, and we were talking about sports, and like her son is older than the twins and was just starting in, I think it was like football or something.
Okay.
And she was frustrated because the coach wasn't teaching them basics. And I said, well, he should have started it like 2 years ago. That's when they teach the basics. Like, whether that's right, wrong, or otherwise, that's how it is now. Like,
you're 100% right. I mean, my son is 10 and just started playing soccer because that was something he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was very concerned that he would get on a team where the coach wouldn't really teach fundamentals or anything because all the other kids have been on the team for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And his coach was actually really good at establishing a base for him.
Okay.
So that if he decides to keep playing soccer, for whatever reason, because he enjoys it or because he gets really good at it or whatever happens with him, he's got the base.
Okay.
It's just about getting the confidence and making progress.
Sure.
And so
that's
we were very lucky, but I did not expect that. I expected to kind of have to teach him the fundamentals myself.
Yeah,
or have him kind of watch his little brother's practices.
Right, or just observe something. Yeah, and it is, I will say, a little bit different, and I don't know where he's playing at, whether it's at a rec center versus a club team.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, like,
this was recreation.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different, but any, like, club, actual team sport at our kids' age, they're expected for the most part to know.
Absolutely.
So even like my twin boy, he's been playing lacrosse for the last couple of years. And there's a couple people on his team this year that it's their first year, and it's a vast difference.
Oh, I bet.
So like he's been playing for 2 years. He knows all the fundamentals.
He knows probably really steep.
Yeah,
with
all
that
the training. He knows, like, he's just improving on stick handling and things and
Sure.
footwork, and so he's just continuing on. But like when you have to start over and learn the basics, like even at 7 or 8, like it's a big difference.
It is. It is. Even my younger son, who did soccer in the spring when he was a first grader, he was the oldest in that group. And then when he started in the fall, he was the youngest. He moved up to the second, third grade team.
Oh, okay.
And I will say that it was nice that he got to kind of learn the game as an older, kind of faster, bigger kid than most of his teammates.
Yeah.
Before moving into a group of kids who had a little bit of experience and were older than him.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned some of the stuff your kids do. I was going to mention some of the things that my kids do. We like karate. My oldest does karate. And we wanted him to work on his following directions skills and discipline and routine. And he's also, his physical strong suits are flexibility and agility.
Okay.
And so karate really lends itself to that, he's able to work on focus, which is a big thing for him too. We wanted him to kind of work on focusing. He seems to be much better at it than when we started him in karate,
Okay.
and he's been doing it for several years now.
Okay.
My youngest was not interested in karate. That was not the sport for him, and that's why he plays soccer.
Gotcha. Yeah.
My younger son, and I don't want to be one of those parents that says this, because I could 100% be wrong. I have never seen a child as athletic as my 8-year-old.
Okay.
I just dude he's fast. He's so fast. He could definitely outrun me, because I'm worried about snapping an ankle most of the time.
That's true. They have less
And he's
fear.
not worried about that at all. He's so fast. He's so athletic. He's coordinated. He just he's got the whole package.
That's good,
The
though.
kid is
Yeah.
athletic.
Well, and some kids just have that. Like
Yes.
my son, one of my youngest sons, like one of his best friends, literally is the same way. Like he just picks up whatever sport. He's playing soccer now. He played lacrosse last year with us, and he just picks up sports very easily.
That is how my
and
8-year-old
he's also
is.
very fast, so he's the fastest one down the field and just
Yep.
picks it up. And my children are not like that. We do the twins do MMA, so similar. I mean,
Yes.
they coordination. A lot of what we want them to do from that is to be able to understand how strong they are. So my twins are both the biggest kids in their class.
Sure.
And they're very strong, but they don't know how strong they are. Like they don't know how to harness that
Sure,
strength.
yeah.
And I think that, not that I want them to do, be a bully, and I don't think of anyone my twins would ever be a bully.
Oh my goodness.
But just to be able to use that to be productive, it's good to understand your body in that. So I think MMA helps
Absolutely.
with that, and the coordination, and honestly, it helps just with. They have a sensei who gives mat chats every time, and they talk about something of importance. Like they talk about confidence. They talk about,
Nice.
all kinds of things. And it's really valuable for them to hear some of that. And he's told them to journal. If you're thinking things, write it down. They're only
Nice.
7, and both of them do.
That's fantastic.
And I think
That's
that
really
those
good.
are just good skills that they're learning from that. And
That's how I feel about karate. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's just
exactly.
the discipline. It's
Yes.
just that. Those types of sports that require focus
focus.
have so much value beyond just you're the biggest and the strongest
Yeah.
per se,
Oh,
or the
so
fastest,
much
or the
more.
whatever.
Yeah.
Where that stuff does matter in other sports. If you are really coordinated, you're going to be a better basketball player than somebody who isn't.
Yeah.
And that stuff matters.
Yeah.
In these sports like martial arts that we're talking about, I think that you balance out some of maybe your lack of these areas with the ability to focus and the ability to study and learn
More
and appreciate.
mental than it is
Yeah.
just physical, and that
And
definitely
I definitely
helps,
think
yeah.
my older son, some of the other activities that he really likes that aren't sports activities, it makes sense that he likes karate. I mean, he loves book clubs. Every time the school has a book club where they're read this book, come in, we're going to talk about and eat a donut before school or something. I don't know if it's the donuts. Might be.
We don't have those. We've never
Really?
had, which I would. The twins have really gotten into reading, and maybe they don't have them yet. I mean,
Yeah, maybe.
So
I don't remember.
because he's in what, 4th,
He's in 5th grade.
5th grade, so that's 3 years older than the twins. So
My
it could be
7, now 8-year-old, turned 8 yesterday. He actually had his very first one.
Huh.
And it was just the other day.
Okay, so maybe.
But this was the first time they offered a book club for 2nd graders.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's probably it.
Yeah.
It's probably it might just be that they just
The
haven't
age yet.
reached
They
that
haven't hit
age
that
yet
yet.
where
Yeah.
they're gonna read a chapter book and then
Yeah.
discuss it. That's a lot.
That's fair. There's a lot of kids in their grade that don't read chapter books. Like my son asked they had library last week, and I told him he needs to stop reading little kid books and he has to pick out a chapter book because he should. He reads at a 4th grade reading level. There's zero reason that he should read not
he
chapter
doesn't-
books. So he
Right.
went up to the librarian because she doesn't let the 2nd graders typically go in the bigger kid section, and he said, "My mom says I have to read chapter books." So she let him go and pick out another book. But they really enjoy reading, which again is something, if they had activities every night, they may not pick reading because they don't have the time.
Or they're too
to do
tired.
that. Yeah.
It's hard to read when you're tired.
It's 8 o'clock at night. You just ate dinner and took a shower, and they're like, I just want to lay here. So I actually like that that's something they enjoy doing.
My oldest feels that way. My youngest does not enjoy reading. I just said that I signed it, that he did this book club. Well, and I just kind of let it slip there. I signed him up for a book club, and he came home from school, and he's holding the book. And it's a chapter book, not a long one, maybe like 90 pages. Okay.
Yeah.
It had some, there's 90 pages. That's a commitment, man.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
That's not going to take 15 minutes.
No, you're going to have to spend some days.
A couple of days, of real solid reading. Mm-hmm. He comes home and he's holding the book out, and he goes, "They gave me this book today at school." And I immediately recognized it because the book was on the sign-up sheet. And I had scanned it at work and emailed it to the librarian. So I didn't give it to him to return because I kind of thought maybe he wouldn't.
Yeah.
I was right about that. He wouldn't have. And he goes, "Do you know why they gave this to me?" And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Because you signed me up for the book club." And I was like, "Yeah, I thought that would be fun. I thought it would be fun. And all your friends are doing it. Like, Yeah. And he was like, "Next time, you ask me before you sign me up for something." And I was kind of like, okay, I hear what you're saying, and it's sort of valid, but also you would have said no.
Right.
And he's like, exactly. And I was just like, okay, man. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I regret it. We kind of had to fight him to read this book. He had like 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Plenty of time to read the book.
Yeah.
He probably read 50 pages in the 2 days before the book club because we had to
force him.
Drag him into his room and open the book and be like, "Read the book. You're going to go and you're not going to have read it." And he was just like, "Can't I just skip it?" And we're like, No. We've committed.
Yes. Oh.
And I dropped him off at the book club. And as I pulled up to the school, I went, "I'm never going to do this again." And he was like, "Good." And I was like, "Okay, bye. I love you." So he's not a book club kid.
Gotcha. Well, everybody has their own thing. My daughter does dance also.
Oh, okay. I could see my 8-year-old actually doing dance. He would probably really be into that.
Yeah, she is our creative one, so I feel like dance fits her personality.
Okay.
Also, it's good. It's good for her independence. It's great for coordination, and it's just good to have her do something not with her brother because MMA they're together.
Yeah.
So I think that her having another activity outside of that is good. My husband says that she needs singing lessons because she loves to sing and she is not good.
My almost 11-year-old has recently said that he wants to be a singer as his profession.
Oh, okay.
And at night, after we say goodnight to him, I hear him singing in his room. And it's just like sounds. I don't even know if he's saying words. It's just like da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Like it's just like sounds.
Okay.
And so I asked him, well, what kind of singer would you be?
Sure,
and he just kind of like beatboxes mostly, and I'm like, well, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
We could look into that.
Yeah.
Maybe come up with like a backup plan.
Yeah, let's think of something else.
I love you.
Yeah. Our daughter, she'll walk around with her iPod and headphones in, so she can't hear herself singing. But we all can hear her singing, and it's somewhat painful sometimes. Yeah.
He's not too bad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't classify it as like unpleasant sounding. I'm just not sure what
it is.
What is the genre here?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what your genre.
That's
because
fair.
I think he is very imaginative.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's why he likes the book clubs.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big thing for him. And he did do school play a couple of times and really enjoyed that. And I think that that was good.
That's something my daughter would definitely like. My daughter likes to sing in accents.
No, my son.
So
my 10-year-old does accents as well.
So
He loves Australian
she bursts
accents.
into miscellaneous accents, and I'm like, where did this come from? Like,
Yeah.
what are you trying to do?
He does this with my husband a lot. My son does, and my husband doesn't. Like, I don't know. He just doesn't think it's funny. I think it is freaking hilarious, and I love it. And I'm just like, I recorded him playing video games one day while he was also speaking in an accent, because for some reason he was speaking in an accent that day.
Okay.
The whole day. And so he did it while he was playing the game. He was just like, I'm not even going to impersonate
Try
him.
it, yeah.
I'm just going to be like, he even used like the
Proper
same
slang,
words.
yeah.
Like he was just like, what you doing there, mate? Except that he said it in an Australian accent, and I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
What is this skill for?
Yep. Yeah. Nope. Our daughter does the same thing, and I'm just like, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
that is so
We're
comforting.
going with it.
I'm not
Yes.
gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was a little worried.
Nope.
I was just like, is there something wrong with your brain?
She does the same thing. That's so funny. All right, we're going to drink this next one. I want to add one more thing that I think is a very valuable skill that the twins have really learned from extracurriculars, and that is that it's okay to lose.
Oof.
So,
Right.
because they, especially my boy twin, he is very good at a lot of things. And he does not like not being good at things. And so being in lacrosse or even MMA where you're going to lose, like, it's a really good thing that he's learning. They're both learning, like, you can't always be the best at things.
Yeah.
You're going to lose, and that's okay. And you have to be a good sport about it.
That is such an excellent point. My oldest, when he went to play soccer, and we knew that his skill level was going to be below at least some of his teammates, if not everybody.
Yeah.
I was very worried
Yeah.
that he was going to figure out he wasn't good at it,
Yeah.
or thought he wasn't good at
Sure.
it, or that he at least wasn't as good as his teammates or his
Yeah.
opponents at it. And I didn't know how he was going to handle that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Or how he was going to handle his team losing, whether he was an impact
Yeah.
or not.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I actually realized, like you said, you hope they learn the value of winning and losing.
Yeah.
And I actually realized through the course of this specific activity, he was able to understand, well, I'm not as skilled at these guys because I haven't played as much. I can practice these things and get better at them. I can find my strong suit.
Yep.
Which we did. Yeah, over the course of the season, we kind of figured out things he
What
was
you're good at.
good at.
For sure.
Or better at
Yes.
to work on. And he seemed to accept the team losing as a whole
Yeah.
pretty well. My youngest child has absolutely no concerns about losing. I'm going to be honest with you. His soccer team lost every game in the fall. Every single one.
Okay.
I don't think
That's
it fazed
fine.
him at all. I think he was just like, did you see that? I scored a goal. And I was like, yeah, it was great. And the other team scored 8.
Yeah. But
He
but
doesn't
that's
care.
good because there's some
Abraham's number
kids.
one.
There's some kids that like get angry if their
Yes.
team loses,
Yes.
and that is
I was-
something that like we cannot have.
I was
So-
worried about my oldest with that because he is very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
He did a tournament in karate,
Okay.
and he didn't do great.
Okay.
It was his very first time, and there was a lot to learn about the tournament
Yeah.
itself. That was a big part of why he wasn't super successful, and he was very upset.
Okay.
Very, very upset at how it went, about how he didn't place in any of the categories that he participated in. And it was really hard.
Okay.
Like, he didn't want to talk about it. I was worried he was going to quit
Yeah.
for a period. And we eventually kind of came around and we were like, look, we got to talk about what we learned from this experience.
Yes.
And we got to figure out how to either handle it next time or whether or not you want to do that specific thing next time.
Yeah.
And that was, and he came around.
Okay.
he did, learn from that. We do have another tournament coming up, and he wants to do it.
Well, that's good, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged.
Good. But those are definitely things that it's something good that you do learn from extracurriculars, especially sports or anything that's a competition, that you might not otherwise if you don't participate in things. So, I mean, you know whether you're good or not good at certain academics, but it's a whole different world when you're actually out there in a competition when it comes to a sporting event or something like that.
Yeah.
So while I don't want my kids doing sports every day, I do think that there's a lot of value in doing them.
Absolutely. And to kind of like bounce off of that without going on for too long, I will say that the things that we gained, other than all of those things that you and I have just talked about, is that, enjoy the things that you are doing.
Yes.
You're a child. Like, you don't have to go 100% to something that you just don't enjoy. We had that experience a little bit with the school play. My son didn't really get the role that he wanted for like 2 years in a row.
Okay.
And we had a conversation about whether or not to keep doing this school play.
Do you actually want to? Yeah.
I also learned as a parent how involved I should be. Do I get involved? Do I back off? Do I kind of let things play out? What if my kid's really upset?
Yeah.
At one point, my son, who was on the soccer team that never won a game, there was a game where his coach was one of the refs.
Oh.
And there was like a very obvious, like the other team did something they shouldn't have done. I don't remember in the moment what the thing was. But I started yelling. And my father was like, stop. It's just recreational soccer. This game doesn't matter. Whatever. And I started yelling at my father, what are they going to do? What are they going to kick me out? What are they going to kick me out? What am I going to get sent to the car? And the coach for my own son's team is like right there reffing. And I was yelling at him initially.
Did you miss the call, coach? Yeah.
I just and then my father is of course correct. But, I have had moments where I've had to kind of realize that in order for your child to learn from an experience, at times you do need to kind of back off and let them process things.
Yeah, you in a lot of these things, you need to let them learn.
Yeah. And maybe as an adult, you kind of put things into perspective once in a while. Like I said, the school play experience where I kind of felt like he had put in all this effort and wasn't really getting what he wanted out of it. At one point, I was kind of like, well, if you don't want to do it, let's just not do it.
Yeah.
And I said it because it hadn't really started yet. And he was not happy with his role. And I was just like, now's a good time to quit.
Yeah,
because
if you're
you
going
haven't
to
actually
stop
started
doing it, then now's the time. Yeah. Nope, that's fair. Once our kids sign up for something and get involved in it, we do make them generally finish. But we're not pushing them to do something if they don't want to and if they're not getting anything out of it.
Well, in this case, it was like he tried out. And he didn't really get what he wanted. No. And so we were at the point where it was like everybody was deciding whether or not they wanted to do it.
Yeah, no, totally.
And I was like, we could just not do it.
This is a great time. All right. So,
Let's talk about
lots of
Grand
things
Cru.
from extracurriculars. Yes, we're drinking Grand Cru.
I had a sip. I will say this definitely smells like it was in a barrel. It definitely has that smell. I don't know how to... An oaky smell.
Yeah.
I suppose I would say.
They're oak barrel aged, so that totally makes sense. Not as... obviously, I think this is the Flemish red, so it's not as sour smelling or tart as
but it does
the
taste
first one.
A little more tart.
It does. It's interesting that it tastes a little bit more tart. The first one had an aroma that I would have expected to be more tart. This one has a little bit more tart of a taste to it. So very interesting comparison. They're both pretty good beers. They're very easy to drink.
Right?
So when you say, whenever I hear sour, I think, okay, this is gonna it's gonna
have a tummy ache.
Yeah, it's gonna bite me in the back of the taste buds, and both of these are very smooth, I think, if you are a beer drinker, an easy drinking beer. They're not overly anything. They're not super tart, they're not super bitter, they're just a good blend, really.
I agree. I would say, especially Grand Cru if this warmed up too much, I don't think I would enjoy it. And
agree.
I don't need it to be cold. I'm not talking about ice cold. It's been sitting here for over an hour.
Yeah.
So if you count the time that it took me to drive over here with it.
Yeah. This is, it
before
doesn't
we
have to be
drank it.
cold. This is fine, but you're right. If it warmed up, it would probably be a little.
If it was like room temperature, I would maybe not enjoy it as much. I need just a little coolness.
Chill. I get it.
I think that these really once you start to get a little bit funky flavors, I think I need a little bit of a cooled off.
Yeah, it needs a little
taste.
chill. I can't do that warm. I can't do a sour warm. I
don't
wouldn't
think
drink
I
it.
can.
So I
don't
personally, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoy both of these beers.
Totally.
So
totally.
I am very happy with Rodenbach. If I ever get to Belgium, I will check them out. And I suggest all of you do the same.
I agree 100%. And it was fun to kind of go another route with our brewery, talk about somebody that's more than 8 years old.
Yeah, it's nice. So many of the beers that we're drinking, the breweries are new within the last, even the ones that are old in the U.S. are still only
20
a couple
years
of
old.
decades old.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of after 2000.
Yes, yeah.
A lot.
I think like Bell's was one of the only ones that was like the 90s. I mean, there's not a lot that we've had that have been really older than 2000. So it's a big change, and it's really nice to change it up a little bit. So awesome. All right.
All right, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the latest musings from Parenting by the Pint.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Have a great week, and cheers to you all.